What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This week we're back on the Godzilla swap Continental. Last time you guys saw it, we got those TMI seats mounted up and we got our center consoles installed and fabricated. Well, this week we're jumping back outside the car and into the engine compartment. We're gonna keep at it with our metal panels. Finally got our Texas Speed intake manifold in. Originally we were trying to find the lowest profile one so we didn't have to cut the hood, but Mark and his crazy ideas gave me the thumbs up, so I'm pretty stoked. We're gonna be cutting the hood to let this whole puppy sit above it. We also got our intake pipe that we're gonna be doing out of some stainless steel vibrant pie cuts. I know you guys all love the pie cuts, so we're gonna use a lot of pie cuts again. Probably gonna bring it as flat as I can so it's sticking out of the hood as well, and then at some point we're gonna turn in. So we're gonna be doing some paneling and some inner fender liners on both sides, dropping down. A nice beauty panel up here hiding our radiator, and then maybe something in the back kind of swooping around. So time to start some templates. I got a couple things I'm going to be cutting out. I got to get rid of this piece of metal, and yeah, I think that's it. So I'm going to get that cut out, and then we're going to start cutting up some cardboard. All right, here's where we're at for now. This is obviously a very basic design, but it's kind of what I'm thinking. So we got our beauty panel up front to cover our radiator, a slight little swoop down, so that our 4-inch pipe possibly could go into that. I'm not really sure just yet, or we may go into the front and then turn back in towards the grill in that corner. Sides are in, made those temporary little brackets that kind of give it its shape. I'm gonna also do a panel back there on the firewall just to clean all that up. All right, now that we got all our cardboard templates cut out for our panels, we're gonna switch focus, but we're gonna continue in the engine compartment of our Godzilla swap Continental. We got our Godzilla intake from Texas Speed mounted up with our stock throttle body. This is a stock throttle body for LS. It's the same mounting holes and everything. So LS throttle bodies do work, but we're gonna be taking that stock one off and we're gonna be replacing it with this box, which is a Nick Williams $1 million throttle body. That's what it's called now here at our shop. So get that opened up. We're gonna throw that guy on there, and then we're gonna start working on our intake piping. That way we could go ahead and cut our hood, which I've already started doing a template, but the piping and the throttle body will also be cut out of the hood. So we're gonna get that kind of going, and also kind of will help with some of these beauty panels and the inner fenders that we're gonna be putting in. That way we make sure we have all our clearance and where it's all gonna land. So let's get that throttle body done. All right, so there's our fancy Nick Williams throttle body. We're gonna be using a Vibrant HD clamp. This is their new style, but now you don't have to fuss with taking a pin out, so it does make it a little easier, a little more convenient. We have our aluminum ferrule. This is a weld-on ferrule, and then we have a stainless steel for the other side. We're going to be using stainless steel vibrant pie cuts and piping, and this side of our throttle body is aluminum, so we'll put an aluminum one on this side and a stainless on the other, and then we'll be able to continue. All right, guys, we're gonna take a quick break from all the fabrication to talk about this week's sponsor, BetterHelp.
We talk a lot about the work we do here on these cars and trucks, but rarely do we talk about something just as important, working on yourself, especially when it comes to your mental health. And one thing you guys should know by now from watching this channel is that just because something is old and rusty, doesn't mean you should stop working on it.
Wow, Andrew, that hurt. But in all seriousness, when it comes to improving ourselves, our mental health tends to be the thing that is most neglected. And with all the stress of working on these cars, running a business, trying to balance all that with family and personal life, being able to work through the stress and anxiety with a professional who wants to listen and helps is sometimes what we need the most.
That's where BetterHelp comes in. They connect you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. All you have to do is head over to their site, answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who has years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours.
You'll be matched with a therapist usually within 48 hours, so you can get started fast. And you can do it all from your phone, a computer, via phone call, a video chat, or messaging. It's the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist.
Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/salvage or choose Salvage to Savage during sign up and enjoy a special discount on your first month.
And make sure no matter what car or truck you're working on, you keep working on yourself as well. Now let's get back to work on the Continental.
All right, moving along here, we got a couple pie cuts, and I cut a couple straight pieces just to give it a little more length, because we're going to be dropping through our hood right here. So I didn't want it to be too tight, but I also thought it kind of looked a little cooler to see all these welds outside the hood. So we got our 90 or our straight piece, and then I've got my next piece right here. This one's going to be coming through our little inner fender like this. Then we got our vibrant filter, which is going to be kind of poking through this little section right here. This is the old mounting area for the headlight bucket, which, as you know now, our headlights, the OBS ones, are connected to our grill. So I'll be able to cut a hole in here, that way the filter's gonna pop through, and basically it's gonna just live kind of behind the headlight area. All right, we got our grill sitting in place, and unfortunately my original thought was not gonna work. There's the access hole. And as you see, there's a connector, which is for the light bulb right there. So my filter will not pop through that section. So I'll probably just end up using my shorter section of our 90 here. I'm gonna cut it back so it's less of a angle, which will just kind of put our filter section on a slant like that. So we'll still pull in some of that fresh air through this section back in here. Not as much air as I would love, but I don't think that's gonna be any issues. All right, so before I went any further with my piping, I decided to go ahead and mock back up my cardboard templates for our inner fenders. It kind of needs to be this long to get past the fans and the radiator. So as you kind of see, our pipe is now kind of inside in this section. The problem is as you go further down the line here, now we start getting into this part. So that's not gonna really work. So I either need to go ahead and take out one of these straight sections like this one here, bringing our pipe closer to our accessory drive. Once I get this cut back and I'm happy with it, I may go ahead and start cutting some of this metal instead of our cardboard. Now that we got our 4-inch pipe in a better spot with plenty of clearance on our front little valance here, and we'll be coming into the side of our fender in the perfect spot. So now I'm gonna go ahead and shift my focus onto our metal panels. So on this side over here, on the passenger side, as you see, I got this angle bent up. So my thoughts were, I'm gonna use this section here that's slanting down towards the motor as a place to mount the metal. So this side's good to go. I need to mimic this exact angle onto the other side. Got the driver's side inner fender panel bead rolled and bent up. I think it looks pretty sharp. So now I'm gonna go ahead and cut another piece of metal on our plasma table. We'll do the same bead roll, same bend, we'll throw it on this side, and then we'll start figuring out that firewall. Probably be a lot easier with this motor out. Now that we got our two inner fenders done on both sides, I'm gonna move on to the radiator shroud closeout beauty panel. And this one's gonna be a little bit more difficult because there's a lot going on. All right, we got our front panel welded up with our little recessed flanges going up where the hood hinges insert or recess into our panel. Boom, so now we got a nice panel around our fans, plenty of access and clearance for all that cold air to come onto our Godzilla motor. Last thing we're gonna have to do on this front panel is cut our hole for our radiator fill. So we're gonna end up cutting that fill off, extending it up so our cap sits just above our beauty panel. Sides are on, everything's kind of just sitting there hanging out, waiting. Next piece is our firewall. Basically, we're just gonna keep it at that same height as the bottom of our two inner fenders. I kind of wanted to go down further, but because of our steering linkage, kind of makes it a little difficult. So we're just gonna keep it a little more simple, keep it at the same height off of the top of our cowl over here. All right, we got it all bead-rolled. Unfortunately, I forgot to turn my camera on. Sleepy boy. So, you guys didn't see that action, but it was epic. Kyle, insert B-roll now. All right, we got all our panels cut, formed, bead rolled, and everything is sitting in place. I added a hem on the bottom of our two sides just to kind of keep it straight. Next step is I'm going to figure out some fasteners. We're probably gonna go ahead and throw some hardware, maybe one or two back here on that flange, as well as in the front to keep all that tidy. So that'll give it a cleaner look. I'm also gonna pull out this front beauty panel, and I'm gonna go ahead and drill a 2.5 inch hole right here for our radiator fill, which we've decided to cut the factory fill off, and we're going to extend it up so our cap will sit, and not this cap's ugly, but our cap will sit right above the beauty panel, so that way you have plenty of access if you ever have to fill it or anything like that. And then we need to drill out a hole here for our upper radiator hose. So I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling this stuff out and continue. We got the Crown Vic subframe tore apart, and let me tell you, it's really not in bad shape, man. I'm gonna take this thing outside with some degreaser, pretty sure I'm gonna just leave this thing raw aluminum. We've got all our parts here. Everything needs to be prepped up, ready for coating. I'm even gonna go ahead and clean up some of this hardware. And then our lower control arms and our hubs, I cannot get these hubs off. These ball joints are seized up, so those are gonna need to be replaced. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my die grinder out, cut these off. These things are a bloody mess, so definitely gonna need to spend some time prepping these up, getting these ready for paint. So my goal is to get all this stuff prepped up back in the car, because as I'm doing metal work and we have our motor out, I came to realize that I can't finish my paneling and my intake piping without the motor back in. So I'm gonna attempt to go ahead and coat our engine compartment, painting the firewall, coating our frame rails, getting the motor ready to stick back in once and for all. So hopefully the last time. All right, we are ready to start putting some coating on our 9-inch Ford rear end from Quick Performance, prepped up, ready to go. We got all of our link bars, our transmission mount, our motor mounts over here. All this stuff is bare metal, so I'm gonna be using some epoxy primer. All right, now that we got all of our suspension, our rear end, all of our parts are pretty much coated. We got our whole exhaust out, motors out, everything's ready to go back in. But before we do that, we have to finish up prepping the undercarriage of the Continental, getting our frame rails primed, painted, and we're gonna be spraying the Poppy's bed liner, basically, I think from that angle down, all the way through, all the way underneath. All this will all get coated with bed liner. This car already had some kind of coating on it, and it has been a pain in the butt to try to get it off. So we're gonna be trying something new. I got a steamer, just like a small little steamer that you could pretty much clean anything with. So I'm gonna use that up underneath and just try to clean any of this loose dirt. I have a little paint scraper, so I'll probably go around with that as well. Get anything that could come off, and then we will be ready to go. All right, I must say the steam cleaner does the trick, man. It's got just like a little small wire brush kind of thing at the end, and it's definitely cleaning that dirt off pretty good. This is pretty much what we want it to look like. Fortunately, like I said, this undercoating is not coming off, but I feel like if we can clean it and get any of the loose stuff and the dirt off, we should be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up, and we got a lot of prepping to do.
With all the fresh paint going on all the front stuff, we also have to do a bunch of reassembly. Along with all the fresh paint, we've got some fresh parts, new joints going into the whole front end. So we've got uppers, lowers, tie rods, and that's really about it. We've changed our control arms to a tubular style, so they have heims and a misalignments. So these, we don't have to change anything here. And they also came with fresh new joints as well. So with that said, we'll get the rest of the parts pressed into the control arms, and then we can get those control arms onto here and finalize that front subframe and get it back into the engine bay all as one unit.
All right, guys, well, that's a wrap on the episode. We did a ton of work in this one. We did all the metal fabrication panels on the engine compartment. We pulled the motor, transmission. We got everything coated and put back in. The only thing left to do is finish that intake pipe, and we're gonna be cutting the hood to get this thing to fit. So if you guys wanna see us destroy a perfectly good 65 Continental hood, make sure you're tuned in next week so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys. Peace.